Following John Klingberg officially being ruled out for the season by Brad Treliving, he also spoke out and revealed his upcoming trade plans. So we're going to break that down in this episode of Leafs Digest, as well as Sheldon Keefe. He called out his team at practice today, and he had some wild stuff to say. So you're going to stay tuned for all that. But before we do get into it, quick reminder to hit the subscribe button. We're very close and on the road to 5,500 subscribers, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. About 80% of you guys aren't subscribed. All right, Darius, we have a lot to get into today. Wild day. Absolutely wild day. There's no other way to put it. And let's just get into the first topic where Brad Treliving revealed his trade plans. So he also revealed to the media that, of course, John Klingberg is officially ruled out for the rest of the season. You can check out our video earlier today if you missed that breaking news. But this is interesting as he now has revealed some of his trade plans going forward. And we all know that they need a defenseman. But now that Klingberg's salary is officially, I guess, gone into the moon, we can officially start to talk about it. So Brad Treliving says the Leafs have, quote, already investigated trades on D. Would we like to help ourselves there? Sure. But having said that, what's the cost and what's the availability of players out there that ultimately can come in and make a difference? So, Darius, not the most optimistic quote, not the best quote in the world, but he did speak out on his trade plans, saying they're shopping on D. And the big thing here is he's aware of it. We're aware of it. What is the cost, and will he do it?
I think he's playing nice with the media. He is being aggressive behind the scenes. I don't think it's too much of a surprise. I think he knows that we know that he knows that this team is not good enough. I don't think he's a stupid guy. He got the job for a reason. He's built good teams in the past. He knows that this team is not good enough. He is investigating other trades in the trade market. That's great. Love to hear that. But I feel like he's just toning it down for the media so people don't, run around with it. But we're not stupid. Like, he's being aggressive. It came out that he was actively going for Zadorov and Tanev. He made a trade proposal, and because of the retained salary, Calgary went with Vancouver. We know that came out. He is being aggressive. He was very close, if the salary cap allowed it, to acquiring those two guys. So we know he's being aggressive behind the scenes. And honestly, I love to see it. I love to see it from Brad Treliving, because he's not sitting back and seeing how the season goes. No, get this team help. Get them to a spot where they can probably challenge for the first seed in the conference and have a better spot in the playoffs going forward. Not only that, but just a better playoff team. Like we've talked about on end all season long, the defense is not good enough. And I know that he knows that. So I feel like he's being aggressive, but he's just kind of testing the waters. He doesn't want to throw anything out there too crazy just yet. But I think he's looking, like he said, at availability and salary. It's tricky this year, especially because of the salary cap. You got to think about Nylander as well. Like, are you going to trade for a rental, or are you going to trade for a guy you want to re-sign in the future, or who has term left? There's a lot of options. I think he's just deciding which way he wants to go, what makes sense based on the team he has.
Yeah, and the package hasn't been revealed, the one for Nikita Zadorov, but we do know that they made a significant offer, according, I believe it was Elliot Freeman. But like you said, the salary was the thing, and not only that, both Chris Tanev and Nikita Zadorov, who were rumored to get in potential package, are both pending UFA. So if Brad Treliving is looking for someone on more term, like you said, then that trade wouldn't have made sense. And if you're looking at the quote again here, there's three words, keywords, well, two mainly, the cost and the availability of players. And I think what he's kind of saying here is obviously he's shopping heavily, but the price might be very high right now for a lot of the guys that we're all talking about and that he's hoping to get. So maybe he waits it out a little bit, wait till the availability increases of these players, especially as teams continue to see if they're in it, if they're out of it, because hockey is a weird sport. And I think that's ultimately what it's coming down to. And here's another quote. He says, "No secret, we've investigated what the market is, what those costs would be. Would we like to help ourselves? Sure, but what's the cost?" So like I said, there's a little bit of added context there. So again, the Klingberg thing opens this up a lot, but it doesn't change the availability of these players for other teams. As much as we wish it would, the salary opening up doesn't mean that the Leafs are going to have to pay less. If anything, they might use that as leverage going forward. Other teams, that is, with Brad Treliving. And again, some updates here saying Bruce says the belief among league executives is that the Calgary owner, Murray Edwards, is in, quote, no rush to trade with Brad Treliving, and the price on a guy like Chris Tanev is inflated. Now, that might even be a topic for another video where we can dive into it more, but you highlighted this. If we are going for a guy like Chris Tanev who's having a great season, his price is at an all-time high, at least in this very moment, and he's a former GM of the Calgary Flames, so their current GM might not want to work with it, and maybe that's why the Nikita Zadorov trade didn't ultimately go through like we all thought it would.
Yeah, I think a lot has to be put into the fact that it's no secret that Calgary's owner doesn't want the Calgary Flames dealing with Brad Treliving. They didn't allow him to be on the draft floor with the Leafs until the Leafs pick the whole time up until that, because he was a former GM that got fired, which is a weird rule in the NHL.
Yep.
But they were petty like that, you know. So I would believe that they're going to be petty in the trade market as well. And something interesting you brought up about the cap room with Klingberg today is Klingberg comes completely off the books now. He's on LTIR for the rest of the year. If they had that availability when Zadorov was still available,
yeah, exactly.
maybe it could have worked, because if they offered a bigger package than Vancouver, at the end of the day, you got to do what's right for business, right? So I think the salary just didn't work, and it could have at this point. So I think it's interesting. Like, the door is completely open now, but what is the availability of certain players? And like you mentioned as well, as we head down the road to the trade deadline, guys are going to be more available because GMs are going to want to offload them. The packages might, the ask might go up in terms of that, but they're going to become available because certain teams are going to be like, you know what, we're out of the race. We got to sell. We got to get rid of them. So I think as we get closer to the trade deadline, there's going to be more availability. So it's hard to really know what Treliving's thinking, because the team needs help right now. There's no secret. So it's going to be an interesting couple of months.
Yeah, and highlighting on the fact that the team needs help, let's get into the second topic, because this is not getting good for Sheldon Keefe, and he called out the team, and we're not going to say the words that he said, but I can show you a screenshot of the blurred out words, and you can make your own assumptions. At practice today, he was not happy with the way that it's been going, and I mean, the Leafs, it's no secret, they haven't been playing horrible, but they haven't been playing great. There's been a lot of issues. The too many men in the ice thing, that's been going on the whole season. The defense has been horrible. A lot of just mental mistakes this season. Whether you point that to the team construction, the roster construction, Brad Treliving, Sheldon Keefe, is up to you. But Sheldon Keefe was not happy at the pace of practice so far, saying effing horse blank. So you can take that as you will. And covering Leafs practice for Legend Mark Masters during a drill, he was rather animated and yelled what I just said, horrible practice essentially. Brutal practice. Not sure if this is the norm, but it seemed out of character for him. So he's upset. The team, weird spot. They need help. Brad Treliving hasn't addressed it yet. What are your thoughts on this? This is, it's not necessarily huge news, but it's something for sure.
The people who hate the Toronto Maple Leafs the most are Toronto Maple Leafs fans, because they know that the Leafs are not playing to their ceiling. Yeah. And the only person who hates them more than their fans is Sheldon Keefe right now. It's very apparent that he's not happy with the way they're playing. And it's been going on for a couple of years. If you watch the Amazon doc, him and Muzzin, both, Muzzin experience, a guy who won the Stanley Cup, always telling them pressure, pressure, pressure. They don't listen. So something must have just ticked them off in practice this morning, where he was like, this is just simply not good enough. And I get the vibe. Some of these guys show up, and I'm talking about the top guys, and they feel like it's just, we got to show up for practice, whatever. No, you got to put 110% into everything all the time. You want to be the best team. And I think that's something that's lacking with this team. It always has. They don't give 110% all the time. They don't give their absolute best. They kind of coast through things sometimes. And it gets frustrating as a coach, because your job it's on your neck. Your neck is on the line here, right? So I get Sheldon Keefe getting frustrated here. And I like to see him animated, because he's been very reserved. I see other coaches around the league, John Tortorella, calling out their players. In comparison, Sheldon Keefe has been very reserved. He never calls out his guys, or he walks things back. I don't want to see that anymore. He has to be more upfront like this. I love to see this from Sheldon Keefe, and I think I know where it's coming from. Some of the top guys, they don't give their all the time. It's been a problem forever, and I'm not sure it's going to get fixed. They have to fix it. They never play to their ceiling. They never play to their potential. They squeeze out points, and we've been talking about it. They're 6-1-1 in their last 8 games or whatever.
Regulation
great.
Wins.
Yeah, it's great. There's no regulation wins. They're squeezing these games out. They're not playing to their ceiling. It gets frustrating for a coach and the fans.
Yeah, and especially you mentioned it. The first person would be, I guess, the sacrificial lamb is going to be Sheldon Keefe if any moves happen. They're not going to fire or let go of any of their top guys or most of their players. Maybe a couple of AHL guys who are up might get sent down. But other than that, Sheldon Keefe is going to be the guy who, I don't think he's going to get fired. But if stuff really starts to hit the fan, he's going to be the one who takes the fall. And that's why he's probably upset right now, albeit there's tons of other reasons to be upset. But I'm sure practice was just, the pace wasn't there. They weren't giving it their all. And as well as they've been quote-unquote playing, if they were playing to their ceiling, we gave up a lot of 2-goal leads over the past however many games, even though they've been in a lot of separated times between games, and maybe that's been a lot of the reason for the lack of focus, but there can't be any excuses, and ultimately, Sheldon Keefe's job is on the line at this point. It doesn't mean we think he's going to get fired. I don't think he's going to get fired anytime soon. No. But at some point, something's going to change if this continues to just coast the way it has for the past however many years. So any final thoughts on this before we wrap up?
I think it's very interesting that, at the time we're recording this, they play the worst team in the East tomorrow night, and the Ottawa Senators. And if they're not giving it their all in practice tonight and you didn't like the effort, I think it's a very interesting storyline heading into tomorrow night, because if they lose,
yeah, blown up.
What do you have to change? At that point, it's work ethic. They don't have it. So I think it's going to be interesting. Tomorrow's almost like a must win. You have to beat that team that's in last. You have to beat that team. You have to outwork them. It comes down to that. So I think it's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. And thankfully, they're actually playing games again because it's been 5
Yes.
days since their last game. But that'll wrap up the video. Let us know what your thoughts are on this in the comment section below, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.